I did a cubing session on CS Timer that lasted an entire year. This session started on July 27th, 2020 and ended on July 27th, 2021. Here are all the best averages achieved during the session. The average of the session was 8.89. The best time of the session was 4.43. All of these best averages were personal bests at the time of getting them, except for the average of 5 and single time. The total number of solves was 58,004, 119 of which were DNFs. That means that 0.2% of the solves were DNFs, or 2 DNFs in every 1,000 solves. I did an average of 159 solves per day. I like to look at these 4 averages to determine what I'm currently averaging. So at the end of the session, I was averaging about 8.5 to 8.6. I found a website called Quibico Cubing that can show you a lot of different stats about your session. My favorite thing to look at on this chart is my average of 1,000 because you can get an idea of how my overall average decreased over time. In order to understand this graph, you actually need to know that before June 2020, I was averaging 8.2 to 8.5, but then I learned a bunch of new F2L algs and it took me a while to get my average back down. This is why at the beginning of the session I was averaging high 9. As you can see, the average drastically decreases all the way down to about 9 flat, where it stays for a while. Then it gradually increases to about 9.5 and then suddenly drops down to 8.5. It fluctuates in between 8.5 and 9.0 for the rest of the graph, while occasionally going below 8.5, like right here, which is where I got my best average of 1,000. The histogram shows the frequency of each length of solve, such as the number of 8s, number of 7s, etc. Obviously, the number of 8s is the highest. The most surprising fact was that I got more 7s than 9s. Here are the number of 6s, 5s, and 4s. I got 338 5s, which is 0.6%, or 6 out of every 1,000 solves. I got 13 4s, which is 0.02%, or 2 out of every 10,000 solved. Looking at the distribution on my PB average of 1,000, I got more 7s than 8, and the chance of getting a 6 increased to almost the same chance as getting a 9. This effect is more pronounced in my PB average of 100, where the 7s dominate and the number of 6s is double the amount of 9s. This section shows the progression of your personal best times and averages for that particular session. The pattern here is that the first 2 days of the session you'll break your PBs a million times just because it's a new session. Then after that it will become less frequent. On the first day I got a 530, and on the second day I got a 484. Then 1 month later I got a 482, and then 2 months after that I got a 479. Then it took me 7 months until I finally got a 443, and that's where the PB stood until the end. For me, of 3 PB, over time it steadily decreased from 6.76 down to 6.18, and then on May 23rd, 2021, I got my first ever sub 6 mean of 3. For average of 5, after the first 2 days it was 7.16. Over the next month it decreased to 6.80. Over the next several months it decreased to 6.57, then 6.40, and finally got a 636 average of 5. Here's my progression for average of 12. Every PB starting with 722 was an overall PB, and then we have my PB progression for all of these other averages. This section shows your top 50 results for each category. This shows all 13 4s I got in the session and every best solve up to 539. Fun fact, I got the top 2 times, 443 and 446, on the same day. I totally forgot that I got 2 sub 6 means of 3, one in May and one in July. I got 2 636 averages of 5 because the very next solve was a 587, which kept the average at 636. It's cool to see that the top 50 averages of 5 were all sub 7, and then all the rest of the averages aren't that interesting. This section shows when you got your first sub X time or average. For single, I got my first sub 5 on the second day and never got a 3, unfortunately. For mean of 3, I got my first ever sub 6 in May. Average of 5, I pretty quickly got a sub 7 and never got a sub 6. Average of 12, same story. Quickly got a 7XX and then that was it. For average of 50, it took me until February to get a sub 8 average. Funnily enough, only a week later I got a sub 8 average of 100. Finally, average of 1,000 took 1 month to get sub 9 and that was it. Finally, we have this dates histogram. This shows how many solves you did per day, month, or year. Looking at the days, we can see when I took breaks from cubing. It looks like the longest break I took was from June 15th to July 7th. It seems that most of my sessions were in between 200 and 600 solves in a day. The shortest session I found was 8 solves on this day, and the longest one was 952 solves on this day. Here are the solves per month. I did a ton of solves in August 2020, 13,000 solves. During that time I didn't have school because it was between my summer semester at NICC and my fall semester at UW Platteville. Then I didn't do so many for that fall semester, and December, I only did 427. That's probably because I was studying for final exams, and then for winter break, I did a lot of Crash Twinsanity speedrunning. Then I randomly decided to do a lot of solves from February to July, although the number of solves steadily declined. Finally, here's the histogram for years. I did 26,000 solves in 2020 and 32,000 in 2021, although each of these is only about half a year. And that's basically it for this website. That was super cool, and I definitely recommend you try it out for yourself. What you do is click export and then click export to file. Then go to quebecocubing.com and click choose file, choose your file, and then click submit, and there you go. Props to whoever made this website. Well, that's about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and if so, consider subscribing. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you left a comment letting me know what you thought of this video. It's my first high effort video in my attempt to exponentially grow this YouTube channel, and if you have any suggestions, it would be much appreciated. Thanks for watching!